Seen script? Have you ever wondered about the world of the Vikings? A world filled with daring expeditions, fierce battles and thriving trade? If so, you're in for a treat as we delve into the dawn of the Viking Age. This era marks a significant period in history, originating from the rugged lands of Scandinavia. The Vikings were no ordinary seafarers. They were extraordinary warriors, bold enough to traverse treacherous seas and relentless enough to conquer foreign lands. Yet they were not just about war and conquest. They were also skilled traders, known for their extensive trade routes that spanned far beyond the North Sea. In their homeland, the Vikings had access to a wealth of resources. Iron, fish, fur, and timber were just a few of the commodities they had at their disposal, but they didn't limit themselves to these goods. The Vikings were astute traders, exchanging their resources for silver, gold, spices, and other exotic goods from distant lands. They embarked on daring journeys, sailing as far as the Middle East, and in doing so, established influential trade connections and amassed unimaginable wealth. However, the Vikings were not just traders and explorers. They were also fearsome warriors known for their ruthless raids. They ventured forth to conquer new lands, their eyes set on plunder and potential settlements. From the British Isles to the Mediterranean, the Vikings left an indelible mark on the world, their swift longships and relentless assaults spreading fear throughout Europe. But it's important to note that the Viking raids were not solely about pillaging. These expeditions were also strategic, providing the Vikings with valuable intelligence on potential trading partners and unexplored lands. This information laid the groundwork for their future conquests and prosperous trade routes. As the Vikings expanded their influence, they established settlements known as Norse outposts. In these new territories, they set up trade networks, engaged in agriculture, and even intermingled with local cultures. This fusion of cultures had a lasting impact on the regions they settled in, shaping their histories and traditions for generations to come. So, we know they were fearless warriors, but were they only about war and conquest? The Vikings were not just warriors, they were also skilled traders. The wealth of resources in their homeland, from iron and timber to fish and fur, served as the backbone of their trading practices. These commodities were highly sought after in other lands, making them valuable trading assets. Their trading networks were not limited to their immediate neighbors. No, the Vikings were daring in their pursuit of wealth and prosperity. They sailed their longships across treacherous seas, reaching as far as the Middle East. There they bartered their goods for silver, gold, spices, and other exotic items that were rare or non-existent in their own lands. The Vikings' trading practices were remarkably sophisticated. They used a variety of trading methods, from direct barter to the use of silver by weight. To facilitate this, they often carried portable scales and weights for measuring silver. This level of detail in their trading practices underscores the importance of trade in Viking society. But their trading was not just about material gain. It was also a means of cultural exchange. Through their extensive trade networks, the Vikings came into contact with a wide range of cultures, from the Byzantines in the east to the Anglo-Saxons in the west. This exposure to different cultures brought new ideas, technologies, and artistic styles back to the Viking homelands, enriching their society in the process. Their trading practices also had a significant impact on the places they traded with. In many cases, the Vikings served as a bridge, connecting distant cultures and facilitating the exchange of goods and ideas. This had a profound effect on the development of these regions, influencing their economic, social, and cultural evolution. But the Vikings' world was not only about trade. The Vikings were also known for their terrifying raids. This aspect of their society, fueled by a desire for riches and new territories, has become synonymous with their name. When we think of Vikings, we often picture fierce warriors emerging from the foggy seas in their dragon-proud longships to unleash chaos and destruction on unsuspecting settlements. These raids were meticulously planned and executed. Vikings were not merely barbarians. As they are often depicted, they were strategic warriors, employing clever tactics to outmaneuver and overpower their enemies. They used their intimate knowledge of the sea and their superior shipbuilding skills to launch sudden attacks, often striking at dawn when defenses were low. Their targets were varied, ranging from small coastal villages to wealthy monasteries laden with treasures. The British Isles were a favorite destination, but their raids reached as far as the Mediterranean. They attacked Paris, seized parts of England, and even ventured to distant lands in the east. These relentless assaults brought them immense wealth, but they also instilled a deep-seated fear across Europe. The mere sight of a Viking longship on the horizon was enough to send chills down the spines of those who witnessed it. Stories of their brutal attacks spread like wildfire, painting the Vikings as ruthless invaders. This reputation, however, only tells part of the story. The Vikings were not just raiders, they were also traders, explorers, and settlers. These raids, however, were not just about pillage and plunder. Yes, the Vikings sought wealth, but they also sought knowledge. They used these raids to gather information about new lands, potential allies, and valuable resources. This intelligence would prove crucial in their later conquests and trade ventures. But that's a tale for another scene. For now, let's remember the Vikings for their fearsome raids that left an indelible mark on history. The Viking raids had a strategic purpose beyond mere looting. These fierce seafarers, known for their audacious raids and relentless pursuits, were also shrewd strategists. They knew that to create a legacy that would echo through history, they needed to think beyond the immediate spoils of war. Imagine a Viking longship cutting through the waves, heading towards an unsuspecting coastal village. The sight alone was enough to strike fear into the hearts of those who saw it. But it wasn't just terror that these raids brought, they also carried the seeds of change. Vikings didn't just raid for the sake of raiding. Each expedition was a calculated move, a strategic decision. They didn't just seek treasures, they were also gathering intelligence. They were learning about potential trading partners, about new lands ripe for exploration, and about weaknesses in their enemies' defenses. All this information was carefully noted and used for future conquests and trade routes. The Vikings' keen eyes didn't miss a thing. They took note of the resources available, the strengths and weaknesses of the local defense, and even the cultural and societal norms. It wasn't just about what they could take away, but also about what they could bring back. This intelligence gathering was a vital aspect of Viking raids. The information they gathered was not just for immediate use. It was stored, analyzed, and used to plan future raids, invasions, and trading expeditions. It was a long-term strategy that was as much about survival as it was about expansion. The intelligence gathered through these raids allowed the Vikings to establish prosperous trade routes, form strategic alliances, and carry out successful conquests. They could identify the most lucrative trading partners, the most vulnerable targets, and the most promising lands for settlement. And these conquests led to something more permanent. The Vikings were not just raiders and traders, they were also settlers and conquerors. As their influence spread far and wide, they established settlements, or Norse outposts as they came to be known. These outposts were not merely temporary camps, they were thriving communities where Vikings would not only live but also cultivate the land, trade goods, and interact with the local cultures. In these settlements, Vikings demonstrated their adaptability and resilience. They navigated the challenges of unfamiliar landscapes and climates, from the icy terrains of Greenland to the lush green fields of Ireland. They built homes, raised livestock, and cultivated crops, transforming these outposts into bustling communities. But these Viking settlements weren't just about survival. They were also centers of trade and commerce. Vikings traded with the local populations, exchanging their goods for local products. Over time, these interactions led to a fusion of Viking and local cultures, creating a unique blend of traditions, languages, and customs. These Norse outposts also served as strategic bases for further Viking conquests. From these settlements, Vikings launched raids, explored new lands, and even established new trade routes. They were stepping stones in the ever-expanding Viking world. The influence of these Viking settlements is still felt today. From place names to archaeological remains, from local traditions to genetic imprints, the legacy of the Vikings lives on in the regions they settled in. They left an indelible mark on the cultural, economic, and political landscapes of these areas. In conclusion, the Vikings were far more than the fearsome raiders of popular imagination. They were also skilled traders, resourceful settlers, and daring conquerors. They navigated unknown seas, established thriving communities, and left a lasting legacy that still resonates today. So next time you think of Vikings, remember they were not just raiders, but traders, settlers, and conquerors who left an indelible mark on history.